Austin is buzzing. A lot is different in college football this year. One thing, though, that isn't Texas and the expectation.
We don't have to ask, is Texas back? Yes, they are back.
You take a walk every day.
Yeah.
When did you start doing that?
I started taking walks in 2020 after I had heart surgery at Alabama. Really, it was because my doctor said, hey, you can't do strenuous activities, but you need to be active. And then I got bored just walking around the field there, so I started getting out into Tuscaloosa. I started walking around Bryant-Denny. I started bringing other coaches with me. Everybody talks about like meditation nowadays, right? I'd love to tell you, man, I meditate every morning. That's just not me. I can't do it. But this is kind of therapeutic for me.
How do you decide where you're going?
I don't. I walk after every practice, and I come out of the gates and I go right. Some days I go left, and I start walking. And essentially on my watch, I'll know how long I want to walk for or the amount of time. And when I hit the halfway point, I turn around and walk straight back so I don't get lost.
So you don't even go watch practice tape. You don't have meetings. As soon as practice is over, off you go.
Off I go. You know, Tuesday, Wednesday in season, it's 1 hour. And they know for the next hour, he's gone. Don't schedule anything. Don't call him. Don't text him. That's his time. You know, a Thursday, I may go a little longer on a walk when it's a little later in the week.
What do you think about? Is it all football or is it?
No, I mean, a lot of times it's, you know, I might be thinking about a little bit of practice, what just happened, and some adjustments we need to make. Might be thinking about the game plan. Might be thinking about some personnel things of who's going to play when, where, maybe. And sometimes I just want to zen out. I listen to nothing, or maybe I turn on a little bit of music, but it's just a way for me to clear all of my thoughts, remove some of the emotions from practice, come back into the building, turn on the tape, and start either highlighting things we like, eliminating things, or making adjustments to stuff that we need to make adjustments to.
You took this job. You'd never been here.
No.
So the first walk around the city, what was the biggest impression and misconception that you'd had?
Well, you know, probably twofold. One, this campus is beautiful, you know, and we're an urban campus. You know, I think that's the one thing that I didn't understand coming to the University of Texas at Austin is that I was thinking we were just a small college town. We're an urban campus. You know, the city of Austin is a real city. So getting in and around the campus and seeing the beauty of it was one thing, but getting into the city, which made sense to me. I'm from Los Angeles, born and raised, and so the city life made sense to me, the cars, the things. But then when you get through downtown, a mile from my office, I'm hitting Lady Bird Lake. And now I can walk in and around Lady Bird Lake. And so this idea here that hit me was I can have campus life, I can have city life, and I can have walking trails, rural life. And the same token, I can get in and around the university and see people that you know, and give them a wave and say hey, and they know that Coach is normal. I'm a human. I actually wear something different than a vest on the sidelines, you know.
What's the best idea you've ever had on the walk?
I've changed practice plans on these walks.
Strip, punch from the back. Here we go.
I've decided guys who are going to start games on these walks. I've formulated play calls on third downs. One in particular, we had a trick play up in the Big 12 championship game in 2023. I said, hey, the first third and 2 or less, we're calling it. I don't care where we're at on the field. That's what we're going to call.
Here's some trickery. It's a flea flicker, and it works to perfection.
We throw a touchdown on a double reverse pass, and it hits. So from that moment on, it's like the walks, like this like legendary on the walk is when things are going to happen.
In this era, when there's NIL, portal, some of it is transactional, has to be. You have to talk money with players. What do you look for when you're recruiting a guy that you know will fit what you do here?
Well, that's probably the hardest part, right? When you think about turning on the tape, watching a kid, you know, whether it's a high school kid or a potential transfer, you know, a guy that's in the portal, the film is pretty easy to tell. What is their makeup? That's the hardest part. And so how much can we dive into them personally? How much can we get to know the family, right? Because how much of an indicator of who they might become is what their family structure is, what they're like there. You know, what's their competitive spirit like? I'm just trying to make sure that we're getting players that want to come to University of Texas. For all of the other reasons, and then the NIL or the revenue share or the publicity rights, whatever you want to call it, is kind of the cherry on top. I think where we can get in trouble, and we have at times, is when the player comes for the other reason. When he's coming for that, and these other things in and around our program don't line up with what they want, or they don't line up with what we want, that's when you get that bad marriage.
Sort of seems to me that dovetails in with your Culture Wednesdays, the gratitude tree that you've talked about. Explain to me what the Culture Wednesday is and why that's important.
I think myself, Lane, and maybe Dan Quinn, right? We're three people who both work for Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. And I study these guys at length trying to figure out, well, why are they so successful? They're totally different, right? They're totally different. It took them a minute to get really successful, but they both figured it out kind of into their 50s. Well, here I am, I'm at 51. And the thing that resonated with me was they figured out who they were. And then they stayed consistent with who they were in all of their messaging and what they wanted and how they wanted their programs run. Well, who am I? I'm a people person. I mean, I just am. I love people. I love connecting to people. I love relationships. I love building relationships. Well, the best relationships are formed off of being authentic, being vulnerable, being real, actually exuding love for somebody. And so that's what we've tried to create. And that's what we create in Culture Wednesdays. And so we pick a topic every Wednesday, has nothing to do with football whatsoever. Now, there's components that tie back into football, and then I'll always share on that topic from my perspective first. And then I break these guys up in and around the building at 10 different subgroups with an assistant coach, and then they touch on the topic. And one, I'm trying to get them to open up and share. We're talking about 18 to 22-year-old males. They don't like to talk, okay? That's the first part. So we're trying to teach them that aspect of it. Two, opening up to another man and what that feels like so that they can start to have a little bit of empathy for you of what you're going through. Three, where you can learn how to empathize with somebody else and start to have a connection with people above and beyond your phone or what social media is telling you to do, right? And so we dive pretty deep into personal issues. We dive deep into societal issues. We dive deep into what is our team and why our team is going to be the way that it is because of the leadership and the way we go about it. But to me, that just goes back to, because that's important to me. I think connection, love, vulnerability, authenticity, those things are important to me. Ultimately, I want them to be important to our team. And I've always said, I think the really good teams take on the traits of the head coach. And I think the teams that we have the last couple of years have done that, and this team's going to be no different.
I read something the other day that if you show gratitude to each other, that it takes away anxiety, and also it takes away jealousy, which when you have the number of talented people that you have on this team, I imagine something you have to deal with all the time.
Well, I think so. One, we have a talented roster, and B, we live in the world of NIL. And so some players make more money than other players. And so the reality of it is being grateful for what we do have, right? And we all can open our phones and look at somebody who's got a nicer car, has got a bigger house, got a nicer lawn,
maybe not than you.
Oh, but look at my neighbor across the street, right? I mean, and if we go through life living like that, we're never going to be happy. We're never going to be satisfied with what we have. And so we try to get a sense of gratitude and that be appreciative of what we do have.
We've made it, I don't know, maybe half mile or so, and I haven't asked about Archie Manning yet. And I mean, he's a super talented player, gets a lot of attention. What makes him suited to handle it?
I do think there's something about the Mannings. They have a very unique way of feeling normal. As big as the brand is, right, as big as they are, they have this unique way of getting into character when they need to be in character and stepping out of character when they don't need to be in character and focus on what they need to do. They're obviously very family-oriented. This isn't about how many eyeballs they can get on me. This isn't about how many commercials can I do, but yet they understand there are going to be eyeballs on him.
The one and only Arch Manning lining up under center.
It's just hard to ignore the number. It's hard to ignore the name on the back.
Into the end zone, Manning, caught!
There's a level of comfort in managing that, I think, for them that makes me feel good. I see all the pictures and videos of him when he was a little kid wearing a Texas Longhorn jersey.
I want to go to Texas.
So this guy's been dreaming about playing quarterback at Texas his whole life. On the flip side, from his teammates' perspective, from day one when he arrived, nobody cared what was the name on the back of his jersey, and he didn't care. It was like, how do I be the best teammate that I can be, whether it's for Quinn Ewers or Anthony Hill, offense, defense, whatever that looked like. How can I help the team be successful? The competitive spirit in him wanted to play more than he did, and I appreciated that. But in the end, his work ethic, his drive, the teammate that he wants to be, the sense of humor that he has, in essence, what works for him with us too, they like seeing their quarterback on the big stage. We're a month away, and here it is. And so I just want him to enjoy it. I really do. And I hope the masses can let this guy enjoy it. As much as we're in NIL and revenue sharing and guys making money, we still have a wonderful game to play. And I hope he goes out and throws 40 touchdowns and no interceptions. Probably not going to happen. And so I've talked him through about, the boos are going to come too. That's just human nature. Sooner or later that comes. Let's just stay focused on what we need to do. And when you get booed, that's when you know you really arrived. That's when you know you made it. When everyone starts, yelling a little bit for the backup, that's a good thing. That's when it's like a coach, right? You never really coach until you've been fired. You never really play quarterback until you've been booed at least once. And so that's all part of the process.
That'll do it. The Longhorn season will end at 13-3.
You guys have been close.
Yeah.
Been really close twice. A step away from the national championship game. Is that something that gnaws at you? Is it something, it's competition? We came close, we play away here, play away there.
I respect the game of football. It's a tough game, and it takes so many things to come together the right way to win a championship. And a ton of respect for Ohio State a year ago. They had a great team. The year before, Michael Penix had a fantastic night. It was one of those games. What encourages me is to know we wouldn't have built ourselves into where we've been the last 2 years if we weren't doing some things the right way. Would I have loved the confetti falling on us those 2 nights? Sure, of course I would. But that's the life of a competitor, too. We put ourselves in those arenas. That was definitely a Nick Saban thing for me. It was like, whether we won or we lost, the next day we were going back to work.
Let's just stiff arm. Here we go.
You appreciate the journey and the grind that each season gives you, and we're starting a new one this year, and I hope we're in the exact same position again this year.
We joke with Nick all the time because he sort of dwells from time to time, and I don't think that's unique to him, on losses. But he had so many great wins. You've had so many great wins. When you replay, if you ever replay games on your walks, you replaying the losses, or do you ever let yourself replay a win every now and then?
I replay a lot of losses. And I replay a lot of very specific moments in the losses. I don't think we think about just the whole game. I think there's specific moments of what would I have done different. I try to do the same thing in wins too. I try to replay the wins and maybe make adjustments along the way. I take some moments. We have to appreciate some of the successes that we've had along the way. And I don't forget the first college football playoff game in our stadium against Clemson. That was a wonderful day here. I don't forget 4th and 13 in Atlanta. Quinn audibling and hitting Matt Golden for a touchdown and Andrew Makuba getting the interception. I don't forget those moments either because that team was a special team that we had. And I don't forget the year before winning a Big 12 championship, right? And how long that drought had been, and for us to win a Big 12 championship and to make it to the playoffs. And so I try not to forget those things as motivation of the good feelings that we had. But I definitely don't forget about the ending either, because that serves as tremendous motivation as well.
You visualize, and I know you love the tradition of the sport. You love some of the iconic places around Austin. What do you think about getting that one
Oh my
lit up on the
gosh.
tower? Which only happens, correct me if I'm wrong, only happens at Texas if you win a national championship.
That's right. So getting the tower lit up and getting a one on the tower is the ultimate. And the hard part here is we're so good in a lot of sports. Softball wins it this year and they put the one up. Swimming and diving wins the national championship, they put the one up. A year ago, volleyball wins it, they put the one up. Women's track and field, they put the one up. And so ultimately at the University of Texas, the football program is what it is. And that goes back to Darrell K. Royal, and that goes to Mac Brown and the great teams that they've had. And so as much as we're doing some great things, at the end of the day, you want to be the one that's taking a picture with your team with that tower lit up with the one behind it. And that'll be a great moment, And do I think about that moment? Of course, But I can't get engulfed in that moment because the day-to-day operations matter too much to just daydream. But it's good to have dreams. And like I tell the team all the time, the difference between dreams and reality is action. And so we've got to take action every day to get us closer to that dream.